Hi, Dave. Just wanted to see if you can share any lineup changes tonight.
Yeah, still not sure, just because of a couple guys' statuses, so we'll know closer to game time.
Next question comes from Vince Mercogliano. Vince, go ahead.
Hey, David. Wanted to follow up on something that you touched on yesterday about taking care of business against Buffalo and the Devils. Is that something that you feel like over the course of the season, if you guys have found more consistency, has been important to just bring the same commitment, the same energy, all that against every opponent? Is that something that you guys have actively been addressing with the group?
For sure, and it's something that you need to have success in this league, any league really, but in particular under the circumstances that we're all in right now. And the only reason I mention that is because of the fact that Buffalo, New Jersey, where they are, and what they're going through. But if you watch them, I mean, these teams have given everybody a hard time. I mean, you better be ready to go when you play these guys. They're good, they're well coached, both teams. They play hard, and I mean, it's not easy beating them. And if you take your foot off the pedal, you don't have a chance to beat them. And I just think so far we've done a pretty good job of, regardless of our opponent, approaching it the right way.
Next question comes from Larry Brooks. Larry, go ahead.
Is there a chance that Trouba is playing tonight?
No.
Thanks.
Next question comes from Dan Rosen. Dan, go ahead.
Hey, David, you've touched on Adam Fox and his defensive ability a couple of times. We can get enamored with the offense and the numbers he puts up, but you've talked about that defense, and I'm curious, from what you've seen through the course of this season and last season, where defensively has he improved the most? What is it about his defensive game that continues to get better, I guess?
Well, to me, I mean, defense, the biggest piece of defending is wanting to actually do it and make it important to yourself, and I think that's something that he has done ever since he's been here. I mean, everybody raves about the hockey sense and his offensive ability, as they should, but, I mean, to have that skill set and the ability he has offensively and actually want to defend to the level that he does, I mean, to me, makes him, the special player that he's become.
Next question comes from Colin Stevenson. Colin, go ahead.
Hey, when we looked at your practice yesterday, obviously we didn't know if Blackwell would be available, and I thought we might see Kravtsov playing in his place on that line, but we didn't. So I'm wondering whether you want to put Kravtsov there on an extended basis, or do you like him where he is, and then you can move him to around within a game to give you a different look within a game? I mean, is that something that plays into your game?
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's got the ability to play there, and I think the way we're going about it right now is the right way to do it. I think Blackie's done a really good job on that line. Depending on how the game's going and where we're at and how those guys are playing, I mean that is a game-to-game situation. I mean, Kravi's, I think he's only played 10 or 11 games so far, but we certainly love a lot of what we see, that's for sure. So, to me, I like the situation we're in right now. That doesn't mean at some point in time he couldn't play on those top two lines permanently.
Next question comes from Vince Mercogliano. Vince, go ahead.
David, two quick things. With Blackwell, I know you guys said maintenance yesterday, but I was wondering if you could elaborate at all. Is he dealing with some kind of an injury? And then you guys haven't used any of the call-ups or many of the call-ups lately. Are you anticipating anything in these last 2 weeks where some guys from Hartford might get a look?
Yeah, again, that's something that we talk about all the time, and to me, it's game by game, depending on our roster, who we feel good about here, and that's a fluid situation. So that's hard to answer, but we talk about it every day.
Next question comes from Colin Stevenson. Colin, go ahead.
Dave, I asked Smitty yesterday if he felt like the dad among the defensemen with all these young guys that he's surrounded by. With Jacob not in the lineup, has Brendan become even more important than he has been to you in terms of sort of leadership and veteran mentoring of these young guys?
I mean, all of our older players are important just because of the makeup of our roster, and Smitty certainly is a guy that reiterates how to play the right way, and the guys certainly respect him and look up to him. So obviously there's a little bit more responsibility on his end of it without Troubs in the lineup, but Troubs is around and he's doing the things he needs to do to to help us off ice, and so, but to me, it's always a shared responsibility. But one guy is out of the lineup, a veteran guy who means an awful lot to you off the ice. There is an opportunity for the other players, the older players, to pick up a little bit more responsibility.
Next question comes from Larry Brooks. Larry, go ahead.
Yeah, with Fox and Lindgren basically having been a match set for 2 years, how have you thought the two have adapted and adjusted with different partners the last couple of games?
I think it's been pretty good. Obviously we love having them together, but under these circumstances, I think the pairings are what we need to be, and I know we've had them out there together from time to time over these last 2 games, but I think they've done fine.
And final question goes to Dan Rosen. Dan, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you back to Fox defensively. What is the attribute do you think makes him, other than wanting to defend? I mean, is it the angles he takes? Is it the speed with which he can close out a play? I mean, what is it that makes him a solid defender?
His defensive anticipation, his angles. He's got really good hockey strength too for a guy that isn't that big. I mean, he does a really good job with his leverage, understanding how to be in a battle with someone who might be bigger than him. That's an art, and everybody needs to be physical to a certain degree in our sport, and some guys can be more physical than others. I mean, he's not going to defend the same way Trouba does. They're just built differently. So he's found a way to defend with his size and his hockey IQ and his stick and body position that has allowed him to be a good defender.